previous Utah Sen. Orrin Hatch, the longest-serving Republican representative in U.S. history, kicked the bucket in Salt Lake City on Saturday at 88 years old. Hatch, the previous Senate President star tempore, served in the chamber for a long time from 1977 to 2019. The Hatch Foundation affirmed his passing in a delivery, which did exclude a reason. A man of insight, generosity, character, and empathy, Orrin G. Hatch was everything a United States Senator ought to be, said A. Scott Anderson, executive of the Hatch Foundation. He exemplified an age of administrators raised on the standards of comity and split the difference, and he epitomized those standards better than anybody. In a country isolated, Orrin Hatch helped show us a superior way by fashioning significant fellowships on the two sides of the passageway. An impassioned moderate, Hatch leaned toward corporate tax breaks, restricted government, liberation, and military investing during his energy in office. He reliably casted a ballot against gay freedoms, fetus removal, and stricter firearm regulations. He came to across the walkway on issues including AIDS schooling and foundational microorganism research, as well as the DREAM Act. As the positioning Republican on the Senate Finance Council, Hatch introduced the 2017 Tax Cuts and Job Act during the Trump Organization, which was praised as the greatest expense code change in 30 years and scrutinized for leaning toward enterprises and the affluent. Hatch additionally drew analysis for assisting then-President Donald Trump with destroying the Bears Ears and the Grand Staircase Escalante public landmarks in Utah. Hatch announced in January 2018 that he wouldn't seek re-election, shortly after his local newspaper the Salt Lake Tribune called for him to step down. His retirement cleared the way for Mitt Romney, a Utah Republican and 2012 presidential candidate, to return to elected office by running for and winning his seat. Romney was and remains a critic of Trump. Ahead of the Hatch's retirement announcement, then-President Trump urged him to stay in Washington. During a 2017 event in Utah, Trump called Hatch a true fighter and said he hoped the Republican would continue to serve in the Senate for a very long time to come. At the time of Hatch's retirement announcement, then White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders said Trump was very sad to see Senator Hatch leave. Hatch spoke at the time about growing partisanship in Congress. "My heart is heavy because it aches for the times when we actually lived up to our reputation as the world's greatest deliberative body. It longs for the days in which Democrats and Republicans would meet on middle ground rather than retreat to partisan trenches," Hatch said in a farewell speech on the Senate floor in December 2018. Political legacy. Hatch served through the administrations of 7 U.S. presidents and worked with 9 Senate Majority Leaders. During his time in office, he served as chairman of the Senate Labor and Human Resources Committee, Senate Judiciary Committee, and the Senate Finance Committee. In 2000, Hatch made a bid for the Republican presidential nomination, but lost to former President George W. Bush. He authored and co-authored several pieces of historic legislation, such as the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, the Drug Price Competition and Patent Term Restoration Act, the State Children's Health Insurance Program, and the Americans with Disabilities Act, his foundation's release said. Hatch's tenure on the Judiciary Committee included the confirmation of Justice Clarence Thomas in 1991. During Thomas's Senate confirmation hearings, Hatch suggested that Anita Hill, who had testified that Thomas sexually harassed her when he was her boss, had concocted some of her claims. President Joe Biden was chair of the Judiciary Committee at the time. He was also supportive of Trump nominees to the High Court Neil Gorsuch in 2017 and Brett Kavanaugh in 2018. The late former lawmaker was also the chairman emeritus of the Hatch Foundation, which focuses on civic engagement and political discourse, and is home to his legislative records. Senator Orrin G. Hatch personified the American dream, Matt Sandgren, executive director of the Hatch Foundation, said in its release. Born the son of a carpenter and plaster lather, he overcame the poverty of his youth to become a United States Senator. With the hardships of his upbringing always fresh in his mind, he made it his life's mission to expand freedom and opportunity for others, and the results speak for themselves. From tax and trade to religious liberty and healthcare, few legislators have had a greater impact on American life than Orrin Hatch, Sandgren said. Elected officials and fellow Republicans responded to the news of Hatch's death Saturday. I want to extend my deepest condolences to the family of the great Senator Orrin Hatch, his wife Elaine, and his 6 children. Orrin was a true warrior for our country, for liberty, and for his beloved state of Utah, Trump said in a statement posted to Twitter by his spokesperson Liz Harrington. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, a Kentucky Republican, praised Hatch's leadership for driving an unending catalog of major legislative accomplishments and landmark confirmations. Romney on Twitter recognized Hatch as a man of vision and unparalleled legislative accomplishment. Our judiciary, our economy, and our national character are more elevated and more secure thanks to his years of leadership, he said. Utah GOP Sen. Mike Lee called Hatch a giant of the Senate and a pillar in their state. Orrin was a friend, a mentor, and an example to me and countless others. I saw countless times how his brilliant mind, quick wit, and care for his nation, his state, and his colleagues turned pernicious problems into clear paths forward, Lee said on Twitter. His example of dedicated, principled statesmanship and consistent collegiality is missed, but will never be forgotten. Son. Amy Klobuchar, a Minnesota Democrat, said on Twitter that Hatch was kind to me, and we worked together well. There were a lot of differences including party, height, age, you name it, but somehow we always looked for common ground. This breaks my heart, Utah Gov. Spencer Cox, a Republican, said in a tweet. Abby and I are so grateful for the opportunities we had to spend time with this incredible public servant. He was always so kind and generous with his time and wisdom. Utah mourns with the Hatch family. Hatch was born in 1934 and grew up in a poor mill town outside of Pittsburgh. He had spoken of how the loss at an early age of his brother Jesse, who died during World War II, affected him. A devout Mormon, Hatch was a prolific writer of religious music. In the late 60s, Hatch moved to Utah where he practiced law and raised a family. Hatch is survived by his wife, Elaine, and their 6 children.